advantage of how government works to defraud people out of their homes. I know it sounds insane, but it's been happening. And thanks to a program that you're going to hear right now from, I'm telling you, the very best property appraiser that Broward County has ever elected, ever. We are catching these bad guys. He's putting them in jail. And we are protecting people from one end of the county to the other from this very serious threat. When I first heard about it, Marty, Lisa and I signed up for it right away. And it gives us some peace of mind to know that this particular problem is highly unlikely to ever visit my home. And we want the same thing, not just for you, but for each of your neighbors. Now, tonight, we're transmitting live throughout, using Pembroke Pines TV throughout the city. And there are people who are streaming who couldn't be here in person, but who are streaming live on the website. And for those who could do neither, this video will be preserved on the Pembroke Pines website, and the property appraiser will also have an opportunity to use it on his website as well. We want to get the word out to everyone about the importance of this program. And so when I heard that Marty was interested, because he's a very busy man, in going door to door in cities and talking to us about this important issue, I said, please make sure Pembroke Pines is first. So I want to make sure that everyone here has the opportunity to understand this program and to sign up for it, because it's free and the protection is incredible. Let me tell you one thing about, well, a couple things, two, three things about Marty Kiar. He was an amazing lawyer, still is. Was an incredible state representative for us for a very, very long time. Went to the county commission and did all kinds of amazing things. Served as our mayor for a while there as well, the county mayor. And then decided to devote himself to the property appraiser's office, which not enough people know enough about. But let me tell you, he has redefined that office. He's brought energy and enthusiasm to that office like only he can. And he is a friend of our city and of every city in Broward County. And it is an absolute pleasure for me, as the mayor of Pembroke Pines, to introduce you and to welcome you to our friend, property appraiser, Marty Kiar.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? Can you hear me pretty good? Why have to? Oh. Yes, I was. And I did. And I went to Pasadena Lakes Elementary when I was a little kid, and it is a fantastic place. And I have to tell you, I have to thank Angelo. You know what? I know I'm preaching to the choir, but you all have a fantastic mayor. You know, Broward County is a huge place. More people live here than 13 states, the District of Columbia, and all U.S. territories except Puerto Rico. That's how big it is. And we have 31 cities. And everybody elected a public office in all 31 cities work very, very hard. But I can definitely tell you there is no harder working, dedicated mayor than Angelo Castillo. You know, a lot of people, they get elected to office, and it's a great thing. But they don't always engage with the community like they should. They do it during election time, but not all the time. Well, I can tell you, Angelo, he gets elected, he doesn't stop. He's out there helping the public. He calls me, I have to probably 30 times a week, about constituents that need help. He works so hard for you all. Can you please give him another huge round of applause? I am on Team Castillo for the rest of my life. And with that said, I promise I won't talk for too long. But I thought this was just so very important, and I was so appreciative that Pembroke Pines and Mayor Castillo invited me because, as you know, this is a really, really big deal. But before I talk about that, I want to thank you. You know, Angelo spoke about it. You gave me the ability to serve in a number of capacities here in Broward County. I got to serve in the State House of Representatives. I got to serve in the County Commission. I got to be our mayor. And since 2017, I've been our property appraiser. And I can tell you, of all the elected jobs I've ever had, this one I love the most by far because you get to interact with everybody in the county, and the nature of the job lets you help people. And here's the big difference. When you serve in the state legislature, it's awesome. I mean, you get to debate education and healthcare. You get to try to make the state better. But sometimes you feel so far away from the people, you don't always get to meet the people you're helping. When you serve on the county commission, it's a great job. As I said before, Broward County is a huge place. And when you serve on the county commission, you get to make the port better and the airport better and mass transit better. You get to try to make Broward County very strong economically statewide. But sometimes when you do things, you feel so far away from the people, you don't always get to meet the people you can help. When you're a property appraiser, I think it's the greatest job alive because your job is basically constituent services. All day, every day, you help people with their property. You help seniors and veterans. It's the type of job that when I go home, I put my head on my pillow. I feel like I did something really good that day. And so I just want to thank you for allowing me to do it. You reelected me recently, so you're kind of stuck with me for another 4 years. But it is just an awesome job, and I love it. And when it comes to property fraud, that's something relatively new that our office has been cracking down on. It's been something that's been going around for a long, long time, but it's really a new thing when it comes to law enforcement getting engaged and holding people accountable. And before I quickly talk about it, let me tell you why. Previously, somebody would steal somebody's home, or they changed the title to the property, and they would call the police. And the police would say, just all throughout the country, they would say, well, you know what? That sounds like a civil matter. We don't really want to get involved in that. Call a lawyer. Because usually, traditionally, law enforcement's used to an assault or a drug deal or something that's an actual crime that they're used to arresting and where people are prosecuting. So people got away with this for a very, very long time. But I'm going to tell you, it started really becoming very, very, very prevalent in Broward County probably about 10, 15 years ago. And a lot of people got away with it. When I got elected to this office, I started hearing a whole lot of stories from people calling my office and saying, Marty, my life is ruined. I've worked my entire life to buy this home. I've had this home, and now somebody stole it from me. They took a mortgage out on it. One person, they rented it. I can't even get in that home. I'm going through this court system and this process, and it's taking years just to get my home back. And I got more and more and more of those calls. And I started learning more about it. And I learned very quickly that South Florida and Broward County in particular, I like to call the title capital of the world when it comes to stealing it. And the reason being is because we have a lot of people that live here, we have property that is pretty expensive, and we have a vulnerable population. And it's so easy for people to steal somebody's property. All they have to do is walk into the recording division of every county, anywhere in the state of Florida, file a fake deed on somebody's property, and they take that deed and they extort people for money, or they mortgage, rent, or sell the property. They do it all the time. They do it everywhere. And it's really a shame. And so when I started learning about it, I wanted to try to figure out a way to fight the fraud before the fraud occurred and give people an opportunity to be able to keep their home there so their title isn't clouded and they weren't taken advantage of, and they wouldn't have to go through some of the stories that I was hearing from residents of Broward County that were really, really targeted by these criminals. And so a few years ago, we came up with a great program called Owner Alert. It's really just a notification program letting people know if there's been a title change to their property. And here's how anybody can sign up. It's free to the public. You can actually sign up today from our staff out there. They'll sign you right on up. If you don't have time to sit with them, you go on our website at bcpa.net. And if you do that, you type in your name, you type in your parcel ID number, which you usually grab from our website, and you type in your email address. And if we have your email address on file, you're automatically verified. If we don't, you have to upload your Florida driver's license or Florida ID. If you don't have that, you have to upload a utility bill or something showing that you own the property. And then if any document, legitimate or not, is filed changing ownership in your property, you'll be notified instantaneously by email. You can get a text message and a hard copy in the mail. We've had 300,000 Broward County property owners sign up for our Owner Alert program so far. And my goal is to get everybody to sign up because they're to protect their most important asset, their home. And in Pembroke Pines, I'm very proud of this. More than 50% of your homesteaded property owners have actually signed up for our Owner Alert program. And something that's really important to note about this program, because so many people signed up and so much information that we've now that we have in our possession, the legislature passed a fantastic law. All Democrats, all Republicans voted for it, and the governor enthusiastically signed it. And it basically exempted all information we collect for our Owner Alert program, your email, your phone number, even the fact that you signed up. It's exempt from public disclosure, so nobody can get that information through a public records request, and it can only be used for one purpose and one purpose only. That's to let you know if somebody changed the title to your property. And once we started our program, I started getting phone calls and emails from residents. They would say, Marty, I just got an alert from your office that somebody changed the title to my property, but I didn't do it. And I got more and more and more, and I realized how big of a deal it was. So I came up with a little bit of a different idea for property appraisers' offices. I wanted to work with law enforcement, build criminal cases, and put the people in jail who are doing this. So I called the Florida Department of Revenue, which oversees all the property appraisers for the state of Florida, and I told them what I wanted to do, and I gave them a little bit of heartburn because they, Marty, you're a property appraiser. You're not law enforcement. But we understand this is a big deal for South Florida, and people are being taken advantage of. So we're going to approve your program to work with law enforcement so you can actually hold some of these people accountable, and we'll make you the guinea pig for the rest of the state to see if it works. I go, great. I then then went to the Broward County Commission, which funds my budget. I go, County Commission, the Department of Revenue just approved a new program in my office. I'm going to call it my Crimes Against Property Team. But I have a big problem. I don't have any money for it. Would you fund it? And all 9 county commissioners said, Marty, we'll give you whatever you need. I thought it was going so well, I went to see Sheriff Tony. And I go, Sheriff Tony, I'm super excited. The county commission is funding a new program in my office, my Crimes Against Property Team, but I have a big problem. I'm not law enforcement, you are. I can't issue probable cause affidavits, search warrants. I cannot do that job. You can. Can we work together? Can we hold these people accountable? And without even thinking twice, Sheriff Tony said, absolutely, Marty. And he assigned 3 sheriff's detectives to work in our office so we can actually do the job of law enforcement. I thought that went so well, I went to see our state attorney, Harold Pryor. And I go, Harold, I am so excited. You know, the sheriff and I, we're working together. We're going to build these criminal cases. And if we bring you cases you think are prosecutorial, would you prosecute the people that are doing this? And without even thinking twice, he said, absolutely, Marty. And he assigned an assistant state attorney to work with our office to prosecute the people that we bring to him. And over the past few years, we've been really successful. We've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of individual criminal investigations. We've had numerous arrests, numerous convictions, and we've been able to work with the court system to get property back to people in a much more expeditious and cost-efficient manner. And just to give you an idea how bad these people are. Oh, and before I tell you, let me tell you who the people are in our office. So right now, our Crimes Against Property team consists of 7 people from our office. Our director is actually back there. His name is Ron Cacciatore. He's a fantastic guy. I love Ron. He worked for the sheriff's office for a very, very long time. And what I love about this, one day somebody mentioned him to me and they go, you know, Marty, you know what we think about Ron Cacciatore? I go, what's that? He go, legend. I go, he is a legend. And so Ron is fantastic. Under him, he actually has 6 other people. Everybody, they may not currently be in law enforcement in our Crimes Against Property team, but they're all former law enforcement with significant investigatory experience. And actually, 2 are here right now. I see we have Christine. Oh, Christine is there. Christine was with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and a sergeant with a lieutenant with Miami PD. And then we have Vivian. Vivian is fantastic. She is currently still law enforcement for the town of Davie, but she works fully for her office, but she's a reserve detective there. Just a little to digress, we had a case in the town of Davie where somebody stole a property. I was so impressed by her that we stole her from Davie and she came to us, which is great, which I appreciate so much. And her daughter's here actually too, which I think is pretty fantastic. We have a number of analysts in our office as well that work with us that do forensic accounting and others. We have 3 sheriff's detectives, 2 Florida Department of Law Enforcement detectives, a Town of Davie Reserve detective, a fault law detective, and we work with every individual city police department. And Pembroke Pines has been a really, really big partner with us as we've cracked down on people and held people accountable. And just to give you an idea how bad these people are, let me give you a number of cases, just some facts to show how smart the people are that do this and the extent that they'll go to try to steal people's properties. And what you're going to find in all of these different cases that we've had, every one is a little bit different, but there's one common denominator. These people are really smart. They are the type of people that if they just did something legitimate, they would cure cancer, make $1 billion, they would do some really good stuff. Instead, they make money by defrauding innocent people in Broward County. The first case I like to talk about was our first conviction. There's like our first foray into trying to hold people accountable that do this. And it was a married couple, 2 wives. One of the wives worked for one of our hospital districts here in Broward County. The other wife worked in the real estate industry. The wife that worked in the hospital district would find out when people would pass on. She would then take their confidential information, including their social security numbers, and give it to her wife in the real estate industry who would find out they had property in Broward County and heirs here. If they had property and no heirs, they'd file fake deeds on the properties. They'd sell the properties on Zillow, mortgage the properties, rent the properties. They profit the amount of likely millions of dollars. But something I'm very happy about is we arrested them. We convicted them both in federal and state court. And even though they're a married couple, they spent their time in different prisons, which I think is a great thing. I was happy about that. And just to show you how smart Ron is, here's how we're actually able to arrest them and catch them. Ron, we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we get them to where we can just arrest them and bring them downtown? And Ron goes, you know what, let's pull their homestead exemption, which he did. So he pulled their homestead exemption, and they called and said, hey, we don't have a homestead in our property. And Ron goes, oh, you have to come in to try to fix it. And they came in. As soon as they came in, BSO swarmed. And a very cool thing is our office is a historical building downtown, and we're in a former bank. So what's really kind of cool is we actually have a vault in that bank, and that's where they kind of held them while we waited for BSO to come and take them. So it's really a cool thing. But that was all Ron. Another case I like to talk about happened pretty close to here. And this actually targeted a very sick senior in Southwest Ranches. And this person came up with a really good idea about how to steal the senior's property and take out a mortgage on the property, defrauding a small business in Sunrise. And here's what he did. There was a man not from Broward, he was from Miami-Dade. And what he did was he made a fake corporation with Tallahassee. He made the officer and director of that corporation the 6th senior that owned that property in Southwest Ranches. He then filed a fake deed saying the corporation owned the property. He then walked into a small business, a mortgage company in the city of Sunrise, and goes, you know what, I've fallen on some hard times, made some bad financial decisions, but I have this one thing, a 5-acre parcel in Southwest Ranches, free and clear. Can I please have a $500,000 mortgage? And they said, sure, we'll give it to you. And this is where they really should have realized something fishy was going on. The closing for a $500,000 mortgage for a 5-acre parcel in Southwest Ranches took place at a Burger King in Hialeah. So they go to the Burger King in Hialeah, and you got the bad guy trying to get the money. You got the mortgage company about to be out a whole lot of money, and you're the smartest person in the room, the notary. And the notary's looking at this thinking, this is very bizarre. So she asked for the guy's thumbprint, which she gave. She then provided it to our office. We contacted the United States Secret Service because they handle a lot of the identity theft cases in America, and the Tanana Police Department, which is how we met Vivian. And fortunately, we were able to arrest the man. We convicted the man. He's spending a significant amount of time actually in federal prison. Unfortunately, though, he was given the full $500,000 mortgage. He spent about $80,000. We recovered the rest. Another case I'd like to talk about, which is also a little bit different, but so smart. This involves a lot of defendants. I think there's either 9 or 12 defendants. I can't remember the exact amount. And what's interesting about this, I don't know this is a fact, but I was told by the folks in our office that all 9 or 12 of them met each other in jail, and they came up with this scheme in jail. And here's what they decided to do. They decided to use the Broward County court system to steal people's properties. So the ringleaders would file quiet title actions in circuit court, basically lawsuits in circuit court, saying this senior or this bank or this person no longer wanted the property. The return of service would go to the guy's buddy who was in a mobile home in Hillsborough County, and he would say, oh, yeah, I represent that senior, that bank, that person. Yeah, they don't want the property anymore. Put in this guy's name or his company's name. They stole dozens and dozens and dozens of properties all throughout Broward County. Fortunately, they've all been arrested. They've been convicted. The ringleader was given 8 years in state prison, followed by 10 years probation. If he violates his probation, he goes to jail for life. Another very interesting conviction out of that was a minor co-conspirator who was only given 10 years probation, but she was also ordered deported to her home country of Moldova, which is a very cold Eastern European country, and she can never return back to the United States, which I think is a really good thing. Another thing I want to talk about was people ask me a number of questions. They always say, Marty, who are the people that do this? They all say what kind of technology they use, who do they target, and what kind of prison sentences are they really getting? When it comes to the people that do this, as I said before, they're just smart people. They are people, honestly, of all different occupations, races, religions, national origins, people of high net worth, of low net worth. They're smart people who have figured out a way to try to make a quick buck at the expense of innocent people in Broward County. To give you an idea, we recently actually arrested, and she actually pled, was a lawyer who actually stole a property in Cooper City. But it shows that's the type of person that also does this as well. I believe we've had a physician's assistant that have arrested. We've arrested people in the real estate industry, all over the place. So I always tell everybody it can be just about everybody engaged in this of different occupations. They're just smart people that want to target other people. The other thing people ask me is, who do they target? Oh, they ask me, what kind of technology are they using? Well, the technology is generally very primitive. They walk into the recording division, they file a fake deed, they do something nefarious with it. Or they have a courier come from somewhere else, file a fake deed, they do something nefarious with it. To give you an idea, there was even a guy on death row in Georgia who sent a courier to Broward County to steal a home. We didn't prosecute him because he has other issues going on over there, but that's what they do. But their technology is actually getting much more sophisticated. And let me give you an idea of a current investigation that we have going on. We may never be able to find these people, but if we do, we're going to prosecute them. But here's what they did. There was a vacant parcel in Hollandale Beach. And one day, a title company gets a call from this lady. And she goes, you know, I have this really awesome vacant parcel in Hollandale Beach. I've had it my entire life. But you know what? My family, they live in Michigan, and that's where my grandkids live. And it's time for me to retire, and I want to move there and just be with them. It's cold there, but I want to be with them, and I can't afford to do it, though, unless I sell my nest egg, this parcel in Hollandale Beach. And the title company said, sure, we'll sell it for you. Show us you own it. And she sent over very legitimate-looking documentation, driver's license, passport, all kinds of information showing that she owns this property. But the title company was smart, and they basically said, well, you know, we also have to meet you in person. And she goes, you know, I can't meet you in person, but I can do it over Zoom. And they go, sure, that would be great. So the Zoom meeting opens up. On one side of the screen, you have the title company. On the other side of the screen, you had this very sweet senior sitting at her dining room table, drinking coffee or tea, just happy as punch, talking about how she's so excited to sell this property, how she can't wait to go meet her and be with her grandkids, how she is so thrilled about that, and the fact that she gets to sell this property is going to give her the opportunity to live out her golden years in peace and happiness. Well, it just so happened that every 30 seconds or so, the same thing would occur on the screen with that lady. She would take her sip of coffee, and it would go like this. It was almost like this little weird glitch. Every 30 seconds, the exact same thing. And it just made the title company just a little bit suspicious that something may not be right. They sent it to our office. We looked into it, and it turned out that sweet, innocent lady that looked very legitimate, drinking her coffee or tea at her dining room table, was artificial intelligence. That's how smart they're getting, and it's a very scary thing. The other thing people ask me is, who do they target? Well, they target just about everybody. They target people of all different races, religions, national origins, people of higher age, of lower age, people of high net worth, of low net worth. They target everybody, but they love to target our most vulnerable people. And here's a few stories I just wanted to bring up. Two actually are in Pembroke Pines. One case, it was actually very recent, where you had a father. He was only in his 40s, and he had 3 kids and his wife. And he unexpectedly passed on, and they lived in Pembroke Pines. That's where the home was. After that happened, a man from Miami Gardens decided that he was going to steal that property. So we filed a fake deed with the Broward County Records, and it came over to our office. And as our office was reviewing that deed, they knew that this man had passed on because we had information that he had passed on. But the deed was signed allegedly by him after he had died. And so they thought that there was something a little off about that, so they sent it to our Crimes Against Property team. They looked into it, and it turned out that he did try to steal the property from the grieving widow and her 3 children. He was arrested. He'll have his day in court. Another situation happened with a couple that lived here in Pembroke Pines for a very, very long time. And let me tell you about them. The man was a former member of our military and a former member of the Broward Sheriff's Office. And in the 1970s, he and his partner got married. And they loved each other, and they bought a home in Pembroke Pines. For some reason, a couple years later, they got divorced. And then she bought a home about a block away in Pembroke Pines. But they still loved each other. They still spent every single day with each other. They just weren't married. Every day, they would do everything together. They'd visit each other. And then in 2020, she got very sick. And a caregiver came to her home. And the caregiver was taking care of her. And then she passed on. And after she passed on, Walter is the other victim's name, he would be at his house, and he would do it. He had a little routine. He would then go to her house, and he would check the mail and just kind of lock it up every day, back and forth. And then it just so happened that the caregiver allegedly, then he passed on. And then after that occurred, the caregiver kind of came back into the scene. And the caregiver allegedly made 2 fake deeds, deeding her home to her and his home to her as well. She then rented out the properties. She took mortgages on the properties. She allegedly stole lots of other money that they had and bank accounts that he had. Fortunately, she was arrested, and Pembroke Pines PD was a fantastic partner in making that arrest. They were the main folks in charge of actually doing it, and the person that was arrested there is going to have her day in court, but I think she's going to be found guilty. The other story I like to talk about really shows who they love to target. They love to target our most vulnerable residents. They target everybody, but they really pick on vulnerable people. They love to target seniors. They love to target people with disabilities. They love to target people that don't speak English as their first language because they can better get away with that with somebody that doesn't speak English well. That's what they do. And there's one story I like to talk about. It's like my guiding light. Why I think this is just so very important. I think about all the time as we try to find these people and prosecute them and try to help the public of Broward County. Let me tell you about the 2 people that are engaged in this one. The victim was about as vulnerable as you come. He was a senior with severe mental and physical disabilities. To give you an idea, he had the mentality of a 6-year-old that he had his entire life. That's how disabled he was. The defendant was a former Miami-Dade law enforcement officer who was his neighbor a couple doors down. They lived in Miramar. And what makes me so angry about this, you have the most vulnerable victim that needs to be protected, and this person that's supposed to be protecting him is the one that's allegedly doing the defrauding. And here's what occurred. He lived in Miramar with his home, with his parents for most of his life. His parents were his caregivers. His parents then passed on, and his sister became his new caregiver, and she moved into the home and she took care of him. And then she passed on. And when she passed on, that's when his neighbor of 2 doors down, the former law enforcement officer, decided to allegedly do what she did. The first thing that she did was make a fake power of attorney so she can get basically make all the decisions for the victim. She then used that fake power of attorney to open up a fake bank account in both their names. That's where his Social Security money and all kinds of other money was being put into there. And she was taking that money and utilizing it for her own personal gain. She then got away with that. So then she decided to use the fake power of attorney to open up a probate estate in Broward County Circuit Court to try to get everything from the sisters, all of her assets, into his name so she can make decisions for those assets. It went through the court system, the judge signed the order, and that occurred. As soon as that happened, she used that power of attorney to deed his home over to herself. She rented out the home. She took out a mortgage on the home, from my understanding, and then she even moved him into a senior assisted living facility that I believe was being paid for by a Social Security disability. She got away with that, so she did something else. She opened up a fake life insurance policy in his name, making herself the beneficiary. He then died, actually probably a month later after that. She got all of that money. It just so happened, though, while all this was going on, Miami-Dade actually had an internal affairs investigation into her for other alleged wrongdoings she had as an officer. And they couldn't understand, while they were investigating her, how she all of a sudden had all these assets, all this money, this new house, all these different things that she didn't have before. So they sent it over to Harold Pryor, our state attorney, who then provided to our Crimes Against Property team, and we investigated it. And fortunately, she was arrested. She's going to stand trial, and I think she's going to be held accountable, and I think she's going to go to jail for a very long time if convicted. Oh, thank you. And the last one I want to talk about before I answer any questions that you all have, people ask me, Marty, what kind of prison sentences are they really getting? Well, the sentences are actually getting pretty harsh, and I'm really glad about that. And let me give you an example of one very recently. There was a man who stole a property from a senior in Tamarack. And he decided he wanted to go to a jury trial. And the jury found him fully guilty. All 9 jurors said, yep, you're guilty. You stole this home from the senior. It's a wrong thing. It's terrible. It's horrible. You're going to be held accountable. After he was found guilty, he walked up to the judge. And the judge was Judge Odom, who's a fantastic judge. And he goes, well, Your Honor, you know what? I was just found guilty. When is my sentencing going to be? And Judge Odom goes, well, it's probably about 30 seconds from now. And he goes, you know what? Not even 30 seconds. He gave him 15 years. And then he walked out. And that's the kind of prison sentences these people are getting. And I'm very happy about that because they target the people of our communities. They steal their most important asset. They target vulnerable people. And my goal is to make sure that every one of these criminals knows that if they're going to do that here in Broward County, we're going to hold them accountable, and we don't play around. Our judges and our prosecutor are going to make sure they go to jail for a very, very long time. With that said, I can go on and on forever. I hope everybody here signs up for our Owner Alert program. I'm just so thrilled you all are here. I want to thank Angelo again. He is just Mike. Mike is an awesome, awesome guy as well. He is doing a great job for y'all. I was actually at the polls with Mike, and I can tell you he worked very, very hard. And actually recently he actually helped us get into, I believe it was Walmart. Here where our outreach team actually goes and signs people up for Owner Alert and exemptions and things of that nature. With that said, does anybody have any questions that I can answer? Excellent. So I'll start with the first row, if that's okay, and I'll just kind of keep going back. Is that okay? So I'll start with this gentleman.
Thank you for doing this. I have a process question. So someone changes or tries to change the title on our property. We get an alert. How long, so you wait for me to say yes or no? I didn't make that change.
Such a great question. So please tell me if I'm answering it correctly. So and what was your name? Carr? So Carr basically asked, okay, once you get an alert, basically what occurs? How long does it take to basically be able to protect yourself? What do we have to do? What do basically you do if you get an alert? So if somebody changes the title to your property, you're going to get an alert very quickly. It's going to be either that day or the next day. It won't be more than 24 hours. Once you get that, you'll get an email alert or a text message alert. The only time it'll be a little bit longer is if you're getting a hard copy in the mail and you haven't signed up for the other 2. If that occurs, there's all kinds of information there about what you need to do. For example, one thing is to call our office, and if we know there's been something fraudulent, we don't have to update the tax roll. So basically, we won't reflect a change of ownership on the property. Our Crimes Against Property team will also know about it as well. They can open up an investigation. You're going to want to call your mortgage companies, but it'll have everything in there. We'll tell you what to do. And here's why the Owner Alert program is just so good. You know, out of every story I told you, they've all took some time in order to be able to really cloud somebody's title and steal their property. But our owner alert program is fantastic because it helps you catch the fraudulent act at the beginning. So the first fraudulent act is filing the fake deed. And then they have to take that fake deed and they have to take out a mortgage. They have to rent out your property. They have to cloud your title and steal it. So it can take some time. If you're alerted right when they do it, it gives you the opportunity to be able to work with our office so we can make sure they can't steal your property. It gets right back to you very, very quickly, and they can't cloud your title. I hope I answered your question. Actually, does anybody else in the first row have any questions? Is it okay if I do it that way? Do you guys mind? It's just I'll do it that way. I'll keep running back and forth. I haven't done my cardio today, so I'll go back and forth. Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Since the deed is fraud and then the original theft of the property is fraud, how does that hold up? Is it a purchaser in good faith, or how does that fraud stand since you never got the money, you never got the mortgage, you never got anything? So how would that stand? Even if they clouded the title, it would seem that you would prevail, considering that it was original fraud.
So if I understand the question, is it basically once they file the fake deed and there's now been a fraud perpetrated, if they don't do anything else, how are we able to continue to convict them? Is that the question?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How can you get kicked out of your own house when you never sold the property in the first place?
That's a great question. So the question is basically if somebody files a fake deed and you're the actual owner, you're the one being taken advantage of, how all of a sudden can you get kicked out of your house? How can they take a mortgage in your name? How can they do all of that? The reason being is because the documents that they're filing are official documents with the county. And they're basically the same type of document, the same exact thing that would basically be if you actually sold your property to somebody else. But what they're doing is they're putting your name as basically the grantor and making themselves the grantee. And so it looks very, very legitimate.
Wouldn't they have to do title insurance? Wouldn't the title insurance have to come in and make them whole? The purchaser in good faith, whereas you got nothing.
You would think so, but not necessarily. They wouldn't do that. They're basically just going in and filing a fake deed, and they're just taking that deed and they're going to and they're pretending to the mortgage company and others that, hey, we own this property, and it happens all the time. It's a much different scenario than if you actually had a real arm's length transaction between a real buyer and a willing seller, where you have all kinds of different things, whether it's title insurance or others. This is basically people stealing properties, and they do it all the time. And to give you an idea how prevalent it can be, we actually had a case some time ago where a person filed a fake deed, and they filed this fake deed because they knew that the person that lived in that property lived in Canada for 6 months out of the year, and they weren't there. So as soon as they did that, they went to a mortgage company. The mortgage company said, oh, you own the property? They gave them the money. They then rented out the property, changed the locks. The person from Canada came back 6 months later, tried to get in their house, couldn't get in there, and there was an innocent family in there. And then you have to go to court to actually unravel the entire thing. And that's where it can get very difficult. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but it's very easy for them to do. Definitely. It's terrible. It is. Oh, did anybody else in the first row? May I give it, and I'll come right back to you all? Sorry. Thank you. No, of course, absolutely.
What's the window from the alert to how long will it take? Because, for example, what if you're out of town or if you're out of the country and the alert comes to you but really doesn't get to you until you get back here on your cell phone?
It's a great question. So for our purpose, once it's filed with public records, it comes to our office that day or the next day. It's basically a 24-hour turnaround. And as soon as our office gets it, that's when it triggers our owner alert program. And that's when the text message and the email would go out. And if there's a hard copy mail, then it goes through regular U.S. mail. And so generally people get it right off. If there is somebody where maybe their cell phone's not working or maybe they're not having access to their emails, they're in a remote part of the world, something of that nature, I'm not exactly sure what would happen there. I know we would try again. If we think something is fraudulent, and on our side, we would try to do it again to try to get in contact with them. Great question. Come on this way. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Whit.
I have a twofer.
Of course.
You had said when you call us or you let us know, and then we contact you, and then we're to contact our mortgage company, and they would tell us what to do. But what if we own our homes? And then my second question is, you have talked about all of these people that you have prosecuted and everything. What about the people that owned the homes? Did they get their homes back? Did they get their money
That is such a great question. So on the first one, when I spoke about the mortgage company, that's if you have a mortgage. If you don't have that, you don't have to let them know. So basically, you'll see the alert will show all the different things you should do, and it just has that in there. But it really details the way to protect yourself if that occurs. When it comes to the victims, I'll tell you something very interesting. Remember I told the story about the people using the court system to steal people's properties? When that happened, I got a phone call from the chief judge at the time. His name was Jack Tudor. And he said, Marty, I am incensed. I'm so mad that they're using the court system to steal these properties. I want to meet with you right now. And so he had me come in, the state attorney, the sheriff's office was there, and the clerk of court. And he had us all in front of him. And he goes, I'm really mad. He goes, what can I do? And we go, well, Your Honor, we have the crime stuff down. We know how to find these people and how to prosecute them. But the problem is the victims, it's taken forever to get their properties back to them, and it's costing them a lot of money to try to do it. That's where we really need help. And so what Judge Tudor did was he issued an administrative order that actually expedited every single case dealing with deed fraud in a much more quick fashion. So if somebody's home and their victim is stolen and they have to unravel whatever occurred to uncloud the title, those cases are now expedited. They still take a little bit of time, but not nearly as long as they did before, and so it's costing people a lot less money to try to fix it. And that's the only real way that we've been able to help them. But unfortunately, many of these victims, it can be a very devastating, long process, and sometimes even more than just the mortgage. And we have a case going on right now, and I can't really talk too much into details about it, but there was a person that she didn't just steal the property, but she stole $250,000 from a senior as well, and she spent it all. And so trying to recoup this and make the victim whole can be very tough, and there could be a lot of victims along the way. Remember I spoke about the case where they rented out the property? Well, there's a lot of victims there. You had the person that owned the property, you had the people that were the tenants that were in there, and so the one thing is at least our judges are trying to expedite them to try to get them done quicker. It's a great question. Does anybody else in the second row have any questions? Oh, may I go through the second row? Is that okay? Here you are.
Thank you. Most of us never access our deed, at least for years. Is there any way that we can check up on that and make sure that our deed is solid?
And you reminded me of something awesome as well. So you can easily check up on your deed if you just go to our website at bcpa.net. Just open up your property, scroll down a little bit, and you can click on the deed that's right there, the last filed recorded instrument, and you would see the exact deed, and that's the deed that's on the property. Also, when you go to our website at bcpa.net, you'll see the whose name the property's in. So if you go there and that hasn't changed, then there most likely there hasn't been anything fraudulent filed on the property. But you reminded me of something too. There also is something you may get in the mail. So if you sell your home or you buy a new home, you're probably going to get a letter in the mail from somebody saying, hey, congratulations on your new home. If you would like a copy of your deed, send us $100 and we'll give it to you, and it'll be great. Well, what I like to call that is lawful but awful. It's awful because you can get it for free through our office, and it's people just trying to make money on it. But that's a great question. I hope I answered it. Oh, thank you. Does anybody else in the second row? Of course. Is it okay if I keep going that way?
Thank you. So I just wanted to confirm something that I thought I heard. So if I'm going to, let's say, go and buy a property and it's an arm's length transaction through a title company, I would be protected through the title insurance, and I wouldn't have to worry about it. It's more when it's a deed, quick claim deed, and okay, perfect. Thank you.
It is a good example, and I know I'm telling a lot of stories. I apologize, but I find all these stories they're so prevalent. To give you an idea, there was a homeowner's president that was walking around his neighborhood in Fort Lauderdale, and he walked and met this guy. And this guy goes, I'm so excited. I've waited my entire life to move in here. I'm buying this home for $2 million. We're going to close on it in just about a week or so. It is fantastic. And the homeowner association president walked away thinking, this is a little bit bizarre. I think the person that owns this never wants to sell it. So we actually contacted our office. And Ron contacted the actual owner who lives in Canada. And we said, hey, are you selling this property? And the owner said, no, Canada's freezing. I love coming to Fort Lauderdale and being in Broward County. It's awesome down there. I'm never selling that property. So we then contacted the listing agent. And the listing agent said, "Oh, I've been hired by a company out of Orlando. That's the title company that hired me to sell this property." We contacted the title company in Orlando, and they said, "Oh yeah, it's very legitimate. We have documents showing that the actual owners of this property are trying to sell it." And they sent us the documentation they had, and it turned out that they had 2 fake Canadian passports that they were using to try to sell this property. But the property was going to be for $2 million. And at the end of the day, the title company would have been the ones on the hook for that $2 million in that situation. So the title company would have protected the owner, but they would have been really out of luck. Great question. Does anybody else around? Did I miss anybody? Oh, of course, I'll give it to this gentleman. I'll come over.
I have a clear, deed. Am I still going to be a victim? Could I be a victim? I own the property and I have the deed. How can I protect myself?
Such a great question. The gentleman basically said, he owns his title clear and free, and how can he best protect himself? The best way to protect yourself, again, is through our owner alert program. Because even though you have your deed and that is your property, it doesn't stop a criminal from walking in and filing another fake deed, pretending that you deeded your property over to them, and then taking that fake deed that's now been filed in the county records and going and get a mortgage and trying to do something pretty bad with it. So signing up for our owner alert program will at least alert you if any changes to title happen to your properties. You can make sure that you can't be victimized. A great question. Does anybody else? Everybody good in the second row? Can I go to the third row? Anybody in the third row? Oh, I'll go to this gentleman, then I'll come to the fourth row. Is it possible to pass that down?
The IRS requires a PIN number, or they will not file your taxes. Before I speak to my brokerage house, they require a PIN number or a password. Can't this be done?
So it's a great question from the gentleman where he said, basically, why is it so easy for somebody to file a fake deed, and can't you have more requirements? Like the IRS, for example, they require a PIN number. Something a little bit more to be able to make it to where people can't as easily steal your property. So right now, under Florida law, the way the law is, it's the county recording just has a ministerial duty. They have to accept every document that's filed with them. And the reason that's always been the case is because you really want, what they wanted from the beginning, the free flow of property being sold from one to another without having any holdups. But now, because you have so much fraud, the legislature is really looking at that. And actually, Lee County has a pilot program, and that's going to actually come to fruition at the end of this year. It's been going on for a couple years, where they've actually been allowed to make it a little bit more difficult for people to file properties. They now have to have fake deeds. They have to have a valid driver's license. They have to actually, there's a lot of other ways that they've been doing. And so they're actually going to provide that information to the legislature and work with us to really try to tighten it up a little bit. And what you want to do is tighten up to where it makes it more difficult for people to defraud you of your property, but at the same time, not too tight to where you can't easily sell your property or buy a property. And so that's definitely something that is on everybody's mind. It's a great question. It definitely is. Thank you for that. Does anybody else have, oh, yes, I'll go to the fourth row. So can I start with the gentleman there, and I'll hit yourself? And could you guys pass this down? Thank you very much.
Hi, Marty. I'm a realtor, and I've been involved in fraud before, but it's digital fraud, where it was a fake title company that got hold of emails. And once you get hold of a person's email, you can do all sorts of fraudulent magic. Unfortunately, I haven't had this situation, but I want to quote what you said a few times, that the new system that you have lets you know when the title has changed hands, which to me, I mean, is good, but the cat is already out of the bag then, okay? And my concern is to create a system that, see, everybody's familiar when you buy a home, you're at a title company. You have title insurance. You walk out of there saying, I own this home and I got my deed and, everything's fine. It's after the fact that you have to look at it. And when you go to the title company, you cannot close unless you show ID, driver's license, passport, something else like that. Can those rules be tightened? Because there's several points of contact that titles can change hands. It can be at a title company. It can be at the clerk of the court's office. It can be through an attorney's office. And everybody has just not got the tools to be able to wrap their arms around all these systems. So can the county, and your office in particular, create some sort of ID that goes like a PIN number that only the owner would have? Of course, if they give that away to someone on the phone who, cons them out of it, you can't do much about that. But something that is outside of the title company that still protects you, and by way of a PIN, a hologram, a picture, something that must be recorded with the deed. As an example, in Hialeah and many other municipalities, you cannot change title to a property without a reoccupancy certificate, used for a different purpose altogether to catch people who do things without permits. But it's a stopgap that you can put the brakes on to say, wait a minute, we can't close. This title cannot be changed unless this condition is met, and not allow outside of title companies, okay, for someone to go up to a clerk, give them whatever the fee is, $10 or whatever it is, give them a document, and walk away with a title.
Honestly, it's a great suggestion. Currently under Florida law, Mila, tell me if I'm wrong. So Mila's my lawyer. She is awesome. To give you an idea, she's Mila, could you stand up for 1 second? So to give you an idea how awesome Mila is, I'll come up with a horrific idea, and she'll talk me out of it and still make me think it's a good idea. She is great. And so, Mila, please tell me if I'm answering this correctly. So the gentleman had a very good suggestion. Basically, to have more protections when you file your deed. Basically, something that is a better indicator that you're the actual owner. And so I think my understanding right now is, because of the way Florida law currently is, you have just a ministerial duty. So you're not allowed to actually require anything different. But I think the legislature, like I said, because of what's going on in Lee County, they have a pilot program that's going to be changed. And I know next year, many of the folks up in Tallahassee have reached out to myself and the other property appraisers to try to figure out a way to make it a little bit tighter. And I think what you mentioned was a very, very good suggestion. And I'm actually going to really explore that more with them. It's a great suggestion. Did I answer that correctly, Mila?
You're absolutely correct. The issue is Florida law. And the intent is good. As Marty indicated, the intent is not to make it difficult for people who own a home and want to sell it, and for folks who want to buy that home to then buy it. As I said, the intent is good. The problem, the devil is in the details. And with the nature of criminality, the way it's developed, and people stealing Social Security numbers, people stealing credit card numbers, people stealing PIN numbers. As you recall, Marty, that one particular case that was eye-opening with all of the data found in somebody's car who was arrested, even a PIN number, a specific identifier can be compromised. But there is important change hopefully coming, and the legislature is exploring it. And as you recall, we also had the pilot program. We wanted to institute the local one, where you would have pre-recording of a deed with notification to the seller. You worked very hard to try to get it passed. There were some roadblocks and hurdles because it made things a little bit more difficult, but hopefully the legislature will take that up and take a second look at it.
Awesome. It is. Thanks, Mila. Sure, may I go to this gentleman and come right to yourself? Here you are.
Thank you, Marty. I personally think it's a correct step in protecting our deeds, and it's a step that we didn't have before. And now that we have this extra step, it's making them a little more harder for the criminals to change your deed and access your property. Having said that, if we were to own, off the top, just a quick question, off the top of your knowledge, are other counties following along this? I know you said that we started in 2017 with this program for Pembroke Pines, and we want to share the news to, fellow members of the community, friends in Pembroke Pines, but we also have family in other counties, parents own homes in, let's say, Miami-Dade, Collier, different counties. How can we, are there programs coming along like that in other counties?
That is such a great question, and I'm so glad you brought that up because I totally forgot to talk about this. So something I think that's really great. Like I said, this has really been on the minds of the Florida legislature and the governor. And what's really great, after we started our program, we had a lot of success. And so 2 years ago, they passed a fantastic law in the legislature that required every single county in the state of Florida to have a similar program like ours. So now every county actually has, if you're in Miami-Dade, it actually is run through the clerk's office. Palm Beach County, the clerk's office. In Alachua County, it's through the Appraiser's office. And so now everybody's setting it up. So it doesn't matter where you live now, you can sign up for an alert, and it's all exempt from public disclosure based on the other law we spoke about too. So it's really a great thing that's kind of catching on everywhere. And so I think it's very, very good, and it's trying to help protect people statewide. Thank you for bringing that. I totally forgot to bring that up, but it's really important to note. Thank you for that. It does. It does. And what we've been doing, oh, Mike, good to see you. Oh my gosh, hello. What we've been doing as well. Oh, sure. It would be, and I think the legislature is going to be looking at that this year, and along with some other suggestions, to be able to try to tighten it up. And I agree with you, but it has to be. Yes. Oh yeah. No, if they can copy this, then we are done. Yeah, I agree. Yes, of course. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm handicapped. I can stand up. I have a problem. I'm retired and I have a lot of issues, health issues. I'm handicapped and disabled, a lot of health issues. My wife, she died 2010. She had a kidney failure. And so before she died, we moved from Adventura here because my daughter lives over here and she got pregnant. So what happened is that we, my wife and me, we focus on education for the children. I have 3 kids. So I had to retire earlier because I had a heart attack. And so the bottom line is that she died in 2010. And I had nobody else, only these 3 kids, and that's all I have. And I went back to my country for visiting my relatives from Hungary. I'm Hungarian. And when I went to traveling, I got a traveling insurance in case something happens to me, so they will be able to collect it. But they used that paper without my knowledge, and they used it to sign over my, that they are going to be, actually it's my daughter. Actually, she's an attorney. She knows exactly what she's doing. And I find it out after when I start to be sick, and not start to be sick when I was very disabled. So then I figured I can't afford to live in Central Ridge anymore. I tried to sell my apartment, and then I find out that her name is on my deed. I never had any idea. If she would have done it in a nice way, she would talk to me. So I right away the red light, something is not right, because they used that paper for the insurance, and I had my signature on it. So now I have a very hard time. Like, I can't sell my apartment because nobody wants to deal with it because her name is on it. And it looks like to me that she's dragging, pulling the time because she knows I'm very ill. She's waiting, thought maybe I die. And it looks like to me that what I want to know is that I don't have money to pay an attorney. So how can I approach this? Because I'm afraid, that I won't be able to, I will lose the apartment because I don't have the financial background. So she's waiting for that time when I'm going to just get bankrupt and then she take over.
Well, first, I'm very sorry that all that has happened to you. The best advice I can give is, so Mila Schwarzreich is my lawyer. And what I've learned in Broward County, what may work for one property may not work for another based on the law and the facts. And we really have to dive into it to give you the best guidance possible. Is it possible, would you mind if Mila calls you tomorrow and really goes through it with you, and then we can try to provide guidance that way? Because I would try to give you guidance now, but I would need to know much, much more. But we'll make it a priority. Mila, when you have an opportunity later, what time would be good for her to call? Anytime. Oh, wonderful! She'll grab your phone number, and we'll take that. She's coming over right now with that. Thank you. Yes. Mila will give you great guidance. Oh, does anybody else in this row have any questions? Actually, I'm gonna go with the next row. I apologize. Here you are.
So, first of all, Marty, thank you for spearheading this and really taking taking it by the horns and dealing with it. It sounds like you've had a lot of wonderful success in this, and thank you. So let's say I connect with your program here, and now I get a warning. Are there some documents that I could have been saving all along that, God forbid, I were to end up having to go to court for to save my property, that I could know ahead of time that I'm going to be able to go in there with the right information that's going to allow me to hold on to my property?
Mila, I was wondering if you could jump in on this one as well. Oh, I can tell you, it's actually a very good question. So what was your first name again? So Robert asked, I think, a very good question. So let's say, for example, somebody files a fake deed in his property, and now he has to go to court and untangle this entire thing. What kind of documents should he basically hold on to now? What he has as part that could actually help him prove ownership later on to a judge?
So really excellent question. The first things I would do is always maintain copies of your deed, whatever documents you have from the purchase of your property. If you had title insurance, which chances are you did, get copies of all of that information. And when you're buying new properties, make sure, even though this may sound a little old school, keep copies of the documents you receive from the title companies. Their document retention rates may be something that is much smaller than the entire time you own your property. But when you get those closing documents, when you get those statements, when you get the title insurance information, keep it, scan it, take pictures of it. That's a really excellent way to show that you owned that property and that you got title legally. Your property tax payments, all of your receipts from the tax collector, keep those receipts. If it goes through a mortgage company, a lender, keep all that information from the lender. All the documents the lender recorded subject to when you bought the property, keep all those documents. You're going to amass a file that can show that you are the legitimate, true, bona fide purchaser of that property, and that can always help you.
Oh, great question. Thank you. Oh, I'll go to this gentleman, then I'll come. Yes, of course.
Thank you. Could you protect yourself better if you put your property in a trust?
That is such a great question. And putting your property in a trust does a lot of protections for estate planning purposes and for many other things. But what we found is that doesn't always stop somebody from trying to steal the property. It doesn't really, because they just go, they file a fake deed, and they make the grantor the trust over to the individual. But I will say this, though. If you do decide to put your property in a trust, just on a total other note, it will not have an impact on your homestead exemption, your Save Our Homes cap. So if you all know this, when you buy your home, you file for homestead, the value you're taxed on can't go up more than 3%. So over time, your market value is much higher than your assessed value. If you decide you now want to put your home in a trust, I always say call our office first. Mila will walk you through it. And if you have it correctly, if you have the grantor, the grantee, or the trustee, the trustor, everything correct, it won't affect your Save Our Homes cap or the homestead. So I know that doesn't have anything to do with this, but thank you for bringing that up. Does anybody else in this row have it? So I think it's, maybe I'm going to go to this. I'm so sorry it's taking me a while to get back there. I apologize. I'm going to this young lady first, and then did I miss anybody over here?
No, I'm just curious. Going back to something you said about a person that died, and then there was a deed signed by the person that had already,
Yes.
you knew that the person had passed. How did your office get informed?
Great question. So our office is responsible for a number of different things. One thing that we have to be responsible for is making sure that every property has homestead when it's supposed to have a homestead, has senior exemptions, and those exemptions also have to be removed, and property has to get reset to market value when the owner of the property is no longer the owner. And so what occurs when people pass away, our office is notified in many different ways. One way is we actually read the obituaries. We also work with the health department and the Office of Vital Statistics. There's a lot of different things that we do, so we're notified of when people pass on, so we can make sure that all property is where it should be. And so in that situation, I can't exactly remember how I would say our data folks in our office came across that, but they had been made aware previously, probably by the Department of Vital Statistics or of Department of Health, that the 40-year-old gentleman had passed on. And so when they saw that, they knew his date of death, and they also saw the date that he allegedly signed the deed. And that's when they knew that there was something not right, and they sent it on over. A great question. Oh, thank you. Is anybody else? Are we good over here? And anybody in the next row? Oh, this gentleman over there. Yes. Sorry about that. I know it took me a long time to get back there. I apologize.
Yes. Good evening. My quick question is, how can one, let me be sure what I have here. How can one transfer title of a property at an address governed by a homeowners association, which requires application, screening, and approval before title can be transferred?
That's a good question. Mila, do you want to take that one as well? And by the way, while Mila is getting that, you know what's something very interesting? Has nothing to do with this, but I didn't want to forget. Here's how easy it is for people to steal somebody's home and become a fake notary. We actually had a case where a document looked legitimately notarized. And we took the deed, and after we did more research, we realized the person actually did the notary wasn't a notary. She actually took the stamp off a legitimate notary's document, and then she went on Amazon and she bought a notary stamp with that information on there. Amazon sent it the next day over Prime, and that's what they used. That's how bad it can be. But I didn't mean to digress. I forgot to tell you about that. But yes, of course.
So, sir, these folks violate Florida law, commit first-degree felonies with punishment of up to 15, 20 years in prison. They are not concerned with the homeowners association rules.
Yeah. It's true. It's
they violate the law, violating homeowners association rules. Really not a concern for them.
Because what they do, if you think about this, they'll file the fake deed, then they'll take the deed. And now they have a documentation that kind of shows that they may own it. So even if it has an HOA, even if it could be in a condo, it could be Century Village. We have a lot in Century Village and Kings Point where this happens. They then take it, though, and now they want to make money on it. And so what they'll do is they'll then go to a mortgage company. They'll go somewhere else like that that's not going to ask for that same verification. And they'll try to get, that's what they'll usually do when something like that happens.
Actually, what I was trying to ask is,
of course.
The homeowners association, not ordinarily, some of them, at least that I'm aware of, before any transfer can be made of any property within the complex, the association, the transferee has to first make an application to the association, subsequently have an interview, and receive approval from the association before the transfer can be made, whether in probate or via sale or otherwise.
I totally understand what you're saying, Emil. If I can try, and if it was a legitimate transfer, they would have to go through that entire process. But think about this. Let's say somebody lives in a single-family home in an HOA where they have those same rules. You could still be in your home, but now the fraudster out there, the criminal, they just go to the county records and they file their fake deed. So you don't even know what's going on. Then they take that deed and they can now pretend they own the property. They don't own the property, they can pretend they own it. And that's when they can go utilize that information to get a mortgage, if you're not there, to try to rent out your home. There's all kinds of things that they do with that document where they don't have to actually they wouldn't go to the HOA. Does that make, because it's not, they're not,
It's an association rule.
Yeah.
Right? So people who live in the association and want to abide by the rules need to comply. The problem, these folks don't even abide by Florida law and commit crimes where they end up in prison. The only thing the association can do once they realize is file an action, a lawsuit, against the person who allegedly made this transfer. And they can end up in court, and the association will probably win because clearly that person violated the association rules, but that person violated Florida law, so chances are they'll be in prison before they owe the association some money. But yes, you've explained the process that a rightful owner who wants to comply with the rules must adhere to. These folks don't comply with these rules.
Does anybody else have any questions back that I missed? That was a great question. Oh, yes, ma'am, of course. Of course.
and thank you for taking the second question. Do you also notify legitimate sales? If I were to sell my home, there's going to be a change in the name on the deed, so I will get a notice as well?
That's such a good question. So if somebody signed up for our owner alert program, you get the notification whether it's legitimate or not, which is a really good thing. And so, but if somebody hasn't signed up, they wouldn't be able to get the email or the text message or the hard copy in the mail. Eventually, the new owners, whoever moves into the property, would get a packet from our office about homestead, things of that nature. But the only way to actually get an alert of a legitimate sale as well is to sign up for the owner alert program. And does anybody else have any other questions? Oh, yes, of course, of course.
Okay. Mail, there's a hard copy?
Yes.
Okay. Text, email, and hard copy?
Yes. Yes. So it's, and the other thing I forgot to mention is we make the actual owner of the property. They're the ones that's only allowed to sign up, except if the owner of the property designates somebody else to sign up as well. And I'll give you an example. My dad is the best example. I love the guy. He's about to turn 82. He's like a young 82. He dances. He plays golf. He tried to play pickleball the other day. I got a little worried about him, but he did it. He does all these different things, but he yells at the computer a lot, and I saw him throw it one time. So when it comes to emails, things of that nature, he doesn't want to be dealing with that. So he actually designated me to get the alert for his property. And so if, and let's say, for example, your mother or your father or somebody lives in Century Village, they can actually designate you to get their alert. Or if you have a power of attorney, something of that nature, you can actually get that for them. We found that is a really good way to make sure that they can be protected that way too. Can I go to him? Yes, of course.
Thank you, Marty. I was wondering, I'm assisting a gentleman, a resident in Century Village, with severe Parkinson's. Can I, as a neighbor, can I register him at your place to ensure that, God forbid, someone, he gets notified or I will get notified? I happen to have a durable power of attorney as well, but still, can I register him?
In your situation, yes, you have a durable power of attorney to help him, so you can register to get. He can get the email, and you can also get the notification as well. And if he designates you to be able to do it as well, we would allow that in that situation. Absolutely, that would be great. And thank you for doing that for him. Absolutely. Here you are, ma'am. Sorry about that.
So I just wanted to make sure I got. So you mentioned that when somebody passes away in the county, or I guess anybody who owns a property in the county who even doesn't live in the county, you get notifications. You said from data? Like, can you repeat those sources, please? I'm sorry.
Yes. So there are many ways that we get notifications of people passing on. One is through the state. The others are our own due diligence. Also, people will let us know as well. And for the most part, we generally always find out when somebody does pass on. And it's very important because when you own your property, you're there for, let's say, a long time. And your assessed value is much lower than your market value. And we just want to make sure that properties are assessed fairly. So when somebody passes on, we're required by Florida law to reset it to market value, to pull all the exemptions, things of that nature. And so there are a lot of different sources. One is the Department of Health and others where we do get information about when people pass away. A great question. We do. There are a lot of different things that we do to try to get. I don't know all of them, but the folks in our office that are in that department, they have a lot of sources that they're able to go to find out. Definitely, great question. Definitely. And did I miss anybody? And I'll leave you all with one last story. You all have been fantastic, by the way. So the last story I wanted to bring up was another arrest that we actually had that I think is kind of interesting, a little bit different. And this one, during COVID, as you know, the world was shutting down. And so the federal government gave an enormous amount of money to the states and then to the counties to provide rental assistance to people. And I'm bringing this up because it actually happened. There were a number of victims in Pembroke Pines on this situation. And so what occurred was if during that time, the county was trying to get as much money out to people as possible because that's what they wanted to do, because basically the world was really shutting down. It's during COVID. And you wanted renters to be able to continue to be able to live there, and landlords needed to make money. So what people could do if they were landlords, they could actually go and apply for rental assistance for a full year for a property. And the COVID money would then go to them, and they could actually utilize that, and then the tenant could be there rent-free. And so it turned out this one lady got a really smart idea. She had a very common name, and what she did was she decided to see if she could get some money. So she walked in, she filed an application, and she said, "Oh, I'm renting out my property." And she wasn't renting it out, but she said, "I am." And the county said, "Okay," and they gave her the full year rental assistance. She got away with that. So then she found every other person in Broward County with her exact same name. And she walked in and she filed applications with fake IDs, basically just changing the picture, with her same name. And she filed applications for rental assistance. She got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Fortunately, she was arrested and she's in a lot of trouble. But I just wanted to bring that up solely because there are, as I said before, a lot of people who want to defraud the people of our communities. And I just appreciate so much that you all came out today just to spend some time with me to allow me to talk to you all about it. And I really hope, if you don't mind, if you could let your neighbors and friends and others know as well, because I really hope that every single person in our county signs up for our Owner Alert program, because it's there to protect their most important asset, their home. And I just appreciate you all very, very much. Thank you guys for coming today. I really appreciate it. You all are awesome. Thank you. Oh, did you have a question? Gentlemen, I have one more question. It is free. It's free to the public, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, of course.
Let me show you.
Of course. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.